The palace walls are shaking right now, because a secret so massive just dropped that it has allegedly left the future Queen of England completely frozen in shock. And you will never guess who insiders say let the cat out of the bag without a second thought. According to explosive new reports swirling around the Royal Watchers community, Queen Camilla has reportedly exposed a deeply hidden, jaw-dropping secret inheritance belonging exclusively to Prince William. A financial revelation so monumental and unexpected that sources claim Kate Middleton was left utterly speechless when she found out about the sheer scale of what was being kept under wraps. Now, before we dive into the absolute madness of how this supposed leak happened and what it means for the very fabric of the monarchy, you have to understand that in the royal family, money is never just money. It is power, it is leverage, and it is survival, which makes this particular rumor one of the most fascinating things to come out of Buckingham Palace in years. Rumors suggest that this wasn't just a casual slip of the tongue over afternoon tea, but rather a highly strategic moment that peeled back the curtain on the dizzying, often incomprehensible wealth that operates completely outside the public eye and even outside the knowledge of senior working royals. Imagine thinking you know everything about your husband's finances, especially when your husband is the Prince of Wales, only to allegedly discover a hidden vault of legacy wealth that bypasses the traditional royal ledgers entirely. The sheer curiosity of what this inheritance actually contains is enough to keep anyone awake at night, because royal insiders are whispering that this isn't about the Duchy of Cornwall or the standard sovereign grants that everyone already knows about and scrutinizes. This is purportedly about a completely separate, airtight trust potentially linked to the late Queen Elizabeth, or perhaps even historical offshore holdings that were never meant to see the light of day. But hold on, because the way Camilla allegedly brought this to light is where the story shifts from a mere financial curiosity into a masterclass of royal family dynamics and subtle power plays. Sources claim the revelation occurred during an intensely private family gathering, a moment where guards were down, and the usual rigid palace protocols were temporarily suspended, leading to a casual comment that sent shockwaves across the dining room table. You have to ask yourself, why would Camilla, who has spent decades meticulously crafting her public image and solidifying her place alongside King Charles, suddenly bring up William's most fiercely guarded secret? Well, according to some royal commentators, it might not have been an accident at all, but rather a calculated reminder of who actually holds the informational upper hand in the current palace hierarchy, setting off a chain reaction of absolute bewilderment. And the payoff to that tension is exactly what makes this so wild, because the immediate aftermath reportedly saw Kate Middleton, a woman famously known for her unflappable composure, her flawless public face, and her ability to handle any crisis with a polite smile, genuinely taken aback and struggling to process the magnitude of the information. Think about it. Kate has meticulously prepared for her future role as queen consort, studying every rule, understanding every royal asset, and navigating the complexities of the Windsor family with expert precision. So for her to be allegedly blindsided by a secret of this magnitude implies that William had compartmentalized this inheritance with absolute, ironclad secrecy. This immediately opens up a massive question. What else is hidden in the royal vaults that even the most trusted spouses aren't privy to? The intrigue deepens when you look at the historical context of royal wills, which are famously sealed from the public for 90 years, a tradition that has always fueled speculation about exactly how much private wealth the Windsors truly hoard away from the tax-paying public's eyes. It is widely known that the late Queen Elizabeth II possessed an incredible private fortune, distinct from the crown estate, including priceless art, rare stamp collections, vast private estates like Balmoral and Sandringham, and massive investment portfolios. But the exact distribution of that wealth has remained one of the greatest mysteries of the modern era. Could it be that William was the sole beneficiary of a massive, untouchable trust, designed specifically to ensure his absolute financial independence regardless of what happens to the monarchy's public funding? The satisfaction of peeling back these layers of royal secrecy is incredible, but it immediately raises another glaring issue. How does King Charles feel about his heir allegedly sitting on a secret mountain of resources that he himself might not control? The power dynamic between a reigning monarch and the Prince of Wales is historically fraught with tension, jealousy, and competition. And if William truly possesses an inheritance of this alleged magnitude, it essentially makes him an autonomous powerhouse within the institution, answering to no one financially. This brings a touch of irony to the situation, doesn't it? I mean, imagine King Charles stressing over the optics of palace renovations and the sovereign grant while his son is allegedly sitting on a secret war chest that could rival the GDP of a small island nation. It's honestly the kind of high-stakes family drama that makes you realize they are just like any other family arguing over a grandparent's will, just with infinitely more zeros attached to the bank accounts. Personally, as someone who follows the Monarchy Monitor beat closely, I find it absolutely fascinating how they manage to keep these things under wraps for so long. And I have to say, I genuinely admire Kate's ability to maintain her grace under the intense pressure of constant palace curveballs. She really is the anchor of that family. But returning to the alleged confrontation, insiders suggest that Camilla's casual drop of this financial bombshell was framed almost as a passing observation, a brilliant piece of conversational maneuvering that left the room gasping for air, while she simply took another sip of her drink. The narrative here is just dripping with unspoken rivalries, because let's not forget the long, complicated history between William and his stepmother. While they have presented a united, professional front for the cameras over the past few years, reports continually hint at an underlying chill, a strictly business relationship built on the necessity of preserving the crown. If Camilla intentionally outed William's secret wealth in front of Kate, it could be interpreted as a subtle warning shot. A way of saying that no one's secrets are truly safe, and that the king's consort knows exactly where all the proverbial skeletons, or in this case, the solid gold bars, are buried. And what exactly does this alleged wealth consist of, you might be wondering? Royal analysts who study the labyrinth of aristocratic finances suggest it could involve untaxed sovereign wealth, obscure land rights dating back centuries, or even private gifts from foreign dignitaries that were quietly funneled into private trusts, rather than the royal collection. The sheer scale of what is possible makes the mind boggle, and it perfectly explains why Kate would be left speechless. It's one thing to marry into a family that lives in castles, but it's an entirely different reality to discover your partner has a secret financial empire that operates completely in the shadows. Furthermore, you have to consider the immense pressure this places on their marriage, a partnership that the public views as the absolute bedrock of the monarchy's future stability. If William withheld information about a colossal secret inheritance from Kate, it introduces a crack in that flawless facade, a hint of mistrust, or perhaps an outdated adherence to royal protocol, where the heir keeps certain monarchical privileges entirely to himself. However, sources claim that William's intentions were not malicious, but rather protective, allegedly believing that keeping the inheritance a secret would shield Kate from the immense pressure and legal complexities associated with managing such controversial, unseen wealth. Yet, the human element of this story is what truly hooks you, because regardless of whether you wear a crown or a baseball cap, discovering your spouse hid a massive financial reality from you is a universal trigger for conflict. This alleged revelation also shines a glaring spotlight on the broader issue of royal transparency, or the complete lack thereof, at a time when the public is facing economic hardships and scrutinizing every penny of taxpayer money that goes toward funding the royal lifestyle. If the public were to officially learn that the future king is sitting on a secret, untaxed fortune while simultaneous debates rage about the cost of royal security and palace upkeep, it could trigger a monumental public relations crisis, making Camilla's alleged leak not just a family spat, but a potential constitutional liability. This is where the brilliant, protective machinery of the palace PR team kicks into overdrive, as they are likely working behind the scenes right now to smother these rumors, discredit the sources, and ensure that the narrative remains focused on the family's charitable endeavors and public duties. But the breadcrumbs of this story are already out there, scattered across the royal reporting landscape. And every new detail that emerges provides a tiny hit of validation for those who have always suspected that the royals operate by an entirely different set of rules. For instance, reports have occasionally hinted at mysterious corporate entities set up in the 1970s and 1980s by royal advisors to manage private investments, entities that are practically invisible to public audits. Could William's inheritance be tied to one of these shadowy holding companies? The deeper you dig, the more questions arise, creating an endless loop of curiosity that makes it impossible to look away from this unfolding drama. And let's be real for a second. The sarcasm of the situation is almost too good to ignore. You have these incredibly wealthy people living in literal palaces, surrounded by priceless art, allegedly squabbling over more secret money that they probably couldn't spend in 10 lifetimes even if they tried. It's the ultimate elite problem, yet it is utterly captivating because it strips away the regal mystique and exposes the raw, fundamental human emotions of greed, secrecy, and betrayal. The fact that Kate, the ultimate royal professional, was allegedly rattled by this shows just how deep the implications of this secret inheritance go. As the future queen, she is expected to be fully briefed on every aspect of the institution she will one day help lead. So being kept in the dark about a major financial asset fundamentally undermines her position and her partnership with William. Moving forward, royal watchers will be analyzing every microexpression, every public interaction, and every carefully worded statement from William and Kate to see if the strain of this alleged revelation is showing. Will Kate demand full access to the trust? Will Charles intervene to force transparency within the family ranks? Or will the palace successfully bury this rumor, sealing the truth away for another 90 years like so many other royal secrets? The stakes could not be higher, because the modern monarchy survives entirely on public consent and the perception of duty and honor. If that perception is shattered by tales of hidden billions and internal deception, the very foundation of the institution is at risk. But until official confirmations or undeniable proof emerges, we are left to navigate this thrilling maze of whispers and allegations, constantly seeking the next piece of the puzzle that might finally blow the lid off the Windsor family's most closely guarded secrets. It is a story that has everything: unbelievable wealth, intense family rivalries, a shocking betrayal of trust, and a future queen caught right in the middle of it all, proving once again that the reality of royal life is far more dramatic, complex, and astonishing than any fiction we could ever imagine, leaving us constantly waiting for the next inevitable twist in this high-stakes saga of power, money, and the crown.